Chris Redfield has a history in the Resident Evil series as a hero. He was the first male protagonist we could play as in the original Resident Evil when it came out all the way back in 1996, and he's consistently fighting the good fight. Except for maybe a quick stint as a drunk asshat in the beginning of RE6, but he turns that around. However, all the trailers for Village show Chris shooting Mia down right in front of Ethan. That's not heroic. And mixed with Chris seemingly working for Umbrella at the end of Resident Evil 7 leave far too many questions hanging in the air unanswered. This leaves us wondering, is Chris Redfield the villain of Village? Are we, as Ethan, going to have to take down one of the pillars of Resident Evil? Let me say as an aside that if that is the case, be very careful, Capcom. You are walking across thin ice wearing shoes that are currently on fire. I'm not saying that it can't be done, and done well, but things can quickly go wrong. That aside, let's take a look at Chris. The way he's dressed and framed in the trailer definitely give off an aura of darkness and villainy. Combined with the previous mentioned shooting of Mia Winters, it doesn't look good for Chris. But I think we may be falling for the magician's trick. So instead of looking at what the trailer wants us to focus on, let's look at the other elements. The first thing I want to take note of is that Chris is not alone. He comes into Ethan's home with a squad of heavily armed soldiers. Seems like an odd thing to do against an unarmed suburban couple. It also stands out that Chris shoots it down to Mia 5 times. She is already on the ground and not resisting when Chris apologizes to Ethan and shoots 5 rounds into her. Ethan's reaction to this also bothers me. He just asks why, and if you pay attention to the trailer, it's a bit cut off. And I get that he's probably in shock. After all, his wife was just gunned down in front of him. So that's the end of it. My theory is wrong, and I should just shut down my channel. Except... do you remember that time Ethan was trying to save Mia and she transformed into a grotesque version of herself and tore off Ethan's left hand with a chainsaw? Yeah? Do you also remember that he didn't even flinch at this and kept going? Watching Mia be shot down and asking why afterwards just doesn't seem like Ethan Winters to me. Of course, there are things we don't know about the story being told in the game, as well as how Ethan, Mia, and Chris came to this point. But I have a theory, and for this theory, I want to pose a question to you. What if Mia is the villain? Hear me out. She has a history of working for a criminal organization making bioweapons for the black market. The organization is responsible for Evelyn's mold infection, as well as the Baker family tragedy. She spends a long time under the influence of both Evelyn and the mold. We see her cure to the infection, but not of Evelyn's influence, at least not until Evelyn is dealt with. The trailer for Village opens with Mia telling a story about a mother and daughter in the woods. The daughter runs away, with the mother giving chase. Mia refers to the child as a rascal when she escapes the mother's grasp. It also reminds me that Mia's relationship to Evelyn, before Evelyn went rogue, was that of a mother and child. And let us not forget that Resident Evil 7 takes place in the woods. Even Ethan refers to the story as creepy. Here's what I'm getting at. What if Mia wasn't cured of the infection? After the Baker family incident, it would make sense for Chris to keep close tabs on another potential biohazard incident. It's possible that Mia started to show signs of using or spreading the mold infection, and so Chris had to step in. He might not be killing Mia. He might be incapacitating her instead. We know from RE7 that while infected with the mold, it's nearly impossible to kill people, but very possible, with enough damage, to knock them out. I'm led to believe this is a possibility from 4 elements within the trailer itself. The first is the squad Chris came with. There really is no other reason for Chris to have backup in this situation unless there's the threat of a BOW. The second element is that Chris shoots Mia 5 times while she is already down on the floor and not resisting. If you want to have a big emotional moment of someone dying, normally you have them shot up close and personal. One shot ringing out, followed by silence. Third is Chris's apology to Ethan, because he sounds genuinely sorry to be putting an end to Ethan's happy home life. Which, if he was killing Mia in cold blood, I doubt Chris would sound this genuine. And finally, Ethan's why. It sounds less like a, "Chris, you murderous asshat! Why would you kill Mia? I won't forgive you!" And much more like a, "Why? Why is this happening now? I thought we were past all this!" Another element to take into account is the father in the story Mia is telling in the beginning of the trailer. The mother and child are working together in the forest to gather berries for the father who's working hard. If Mia is the mother and Evelyn the daughter in this story, then it makes sense to me that the father would be the organization Mia was working for. The daughter rebels against the mother, running off, and the mother gives chase. This parallels the events of Resident Evil 7 nicely, but one other very important thing to take into account, the story, within the trailer, is never finished. This leads me to theorize that Mia's mission isn't over, and that she still has ties to the organization, or whomever the father in the story relates to, and fully intends to finish her mission. The Mia we know as a victim of Evelyn is much different than the Mia who is a part of the Connections organization, almost like they're two completely different people. Although it appears Mia is being taken out of the story at the beginning of Village, I highly doubt that's the case. I think Mia is connected to the cult of the Village, and it's this connection, as well as a drive to live a normal life, that has Ethan going to the Village. I mean, it really bothers me that we see Chris shooting Mia and taking Ethan by force, then Ethan is in the Village, fighting the terrors there and referring to himself as a friendly, a designation usually used by soldiers, not civilians. What happened in between these two events to make Ethan take on this mission? I think Ethan is doing this for Mia, not going after Chris to stop him, but working with Chris to stop the group responsible for the mold once and for all. But what do you think? I'd love to hear what theories you've come up with on what's happening. Do you think I'm way off base and that Chris is clearly the villain? Or do you believe I may be onto something? I'd love to hear all of your opinions and thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoy this video, then don't forget to do all the fun YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video around, and ring that bell to get notified when I have new videos out. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, Pet Faithful.